that we've gone wrong here, that women should prioritize family and children way above career, that they should try to find their husband before they're 25, that they should try to get married way younger. This is probably the
I think that also goes back to just finances. No, you can't quite totally have a husband going out making a salary to have a stay-at-home.
I completely agree with that. That's the best argument. It's not a winner argument, but it's the best argument. Because at some point, you go to like Sub-Saharan Africa, they have like 8 kids, and they live in like a dirt hut. You can figure it out. Having children, I believe, is a blessing of the Lord. It's the most amazing thing. You should try to have as many children as you can. Much more important than traveling to Thailand or having a big apartment or a bunch of cats. Okay? Having children are a gift from the Lord. So, but as far as like the dating pool problem, so young ladies, they need to be very clear about what they're expecting in a man and date with the intent to marry and not just date to, have a good time. And quite honestly, both need to do this, but young women need to do a much better job of saving themselves for marriage. They need to prioritize purity again. Young men need to too, but if young women do it, then young men will.
So if that's what the women need to do in order to make themselves worthy of dating, What do you think is the main thing men need to do to make themselves worthy?
The most attractive quality in a young man that young women can't ever articulate is self-control.
So how does this look in application?
A woman needs to be able to know that you can control your impulses when things get really crazy. They can't articulate it, but that's what they want. So for example, they want to be able, when you go on a date, can you control your mouth? Can you control your tongue? Can you control your eye? Are you going to cheat on her? Are you going to have a wandering eye? Are you going to get drunk every night? Are you going to kind of go into like a drug, abyss? Women can't always put that into words, but that differentiates a boy from a man. I think that we've gone wrong here, that women should...
Honestly, I 100% agree with this because in the USA, we live in a world where we are so used to people hyper-focusing on just sex. Whether it's in movies, whether it's in music, and even when it comes to advertisement, women are used as an object. And we have only made it 100% easier for men to continue that objectification of women. So I 100% agree with Charlie Kirk when he says that women should preserve themselves. And I understand that, some women, they think that sexual liberation means just freedom in general, but that is a very Marxist, communist ideology that was brought over into the USA. You need to understand the huge impact the USSR had on the feminist movement and how a lot of the feminists that push a lot of ideologies or laws, it has a lot to do with the laws that were being pushed in the USSR. So that is very important. For example, abortions. A lot of women like to say, abortions means that we as women have medical rights and we have more freedom, more control of our bodies. But honestly, all of that ideology came from the USSR. The USSR was the first country to legalize abortion, and they did that because they did not want women to be able to stay at home, and instead they wanted them to be able to work. They wanted women out here in the workforce because under a communist country, everybody belongs to the state and everybody's time and labor belongs to the state as well. That is not something that, you now get freedoms. No. In fact, it just a different type of labor overcomes society. And again, a lot of these feminists are trying to destroy the family structure because, again, that comes from Marxist ideology in which the USSR heavily accepted in their society. As a woman who used to work in the club industry, it very much disgusts me how I see a lot of women pushing that and glamorizing, the sex industry. And honestly, I never did anything like that. I danced, okay? But even me dancing, whatever, that is still working in the sex industry. But working in this industry, I found a lot of things. And a lot of things that I did not know before. And whenever I did talk to other women, you start to realize that a lot of these women are going into these fields because they either don't have, the family unit, or they don't have a support system, or they're being exploited as well. Because I didn't know that there were women in my club that were being exploited, and but that's what was going on. And even in my establishment, in my club that I worked in, they stressed that, no, they don't do that kind of stuff, blah, 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 blah. But I ended up seeing some drama that occurred I ended up hearing things that I probably should have never heard. And so I ended up seeing how, there are women that are getting... And a lot of women, come on TikTok and they promote that. Or a lot of women promote OnlyFans. And then they end up, there ends up being conflict. A lot of women don't tell women the impacts of working in this industry and what it does to women, really. And honestly, a lot of these women that promote sexual liberation and everything, they don't even acknowledge how there are women being exploited and taken advantage of who do not have a choice. You have a choice whether or not you get to be out there in the world and be this sexual liberating, this sexual creature out here. But other women do not, and you are part of the problem that is fueling that horrible, abusive, toxic industry where other women in other countries and even in the USA as well are falling victims of being. Okay, so you need to understand that. A lot of the issues that we're seeing in society is that women are no longer mysterious. Women are no longer preserving themselves, and we think that this is better for us, but what we end up doing is giving men exactly what they want. What we end up becoming is just an object, and that is something that I thought feminists were so against, yet they promote the literal objectification of women when they promote sexual liberation. And this is, again, this is not helping any of us. And honestly, I love the point that he made when it comes to having children, because he is 100% right. When it comes to other countries, there are people that still have children despite their economic class, whatever. Because first of all, we need to acknowledge that women in the USA, you are the most privileged. You are afforded the most rights that other women do not even have. You have safety. You have the ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want. And other women around the world do not have that. And you also have something that other women do not have: the ability to make so much money. And other women outside of the USA, they don't care about all that stuff. They're going to make things happen because, you know, other people in other societies that don't depend on money. Here in the USA, we depend so much on money. We make money to spend money. Our lifestyle revolves around a lot on spending money. If we want clothes, we spend money to get those clothes. In other countries, they make the fabric, then they make the clothes. So it's like they have to find other ways in order to make whatever happen in their life happen without having to use money. And honestly, I love the point that he made about self-control, and this applies to all human beings. And even with myself, I am heavily learning about this. The more I go away from my sins. A lot of that has to do with self-control, right? And that is what's going to make a great leader, especially in men. If a man has self-control, he can control his environment and his family unit.